Freilich and Chanukah, everyone. We're standing in the beginning of the Yom Tov of Chanukah in the Erev Shabbos Parshas Vayeshev, Shabbos Mevarchim Chodesh Teves, and in the year of Ploi Sarenu, a year of wonders. And on Dal Hanisim, we thank Hashem for Nisacha, Nifleisacha, Yeshuaisacha, for the miracles, the wonders, and the salvations. And the Rabbi explains that there were different episodes, different things that happened during the days of Hanukkah. Some things were clearly miraculous, totally beyond nature, like the victory over the Greeks. The fact that the oil burned for 8 days straight, for 8 nights. The fact that then there were things that weren't open miracles. You had the fact that they found 1 jug of oil, that stood out, was an extraordinary event. It wasn't necessarily beyond nature that they found it. And then there was also things that, didn't look like they were anything special. Something was a salvation. When Maccabees started first their revolt in the city of Moedin, they initiated their guerrilla warfare. And they had some success that wasn't miraculous. They didn't have too many Yevonim had to overcome. Nevertheless, it was a salvation. And the point that Rabbi makes is that a person, he recognizes Hashem's hand when he sees something mamish, a nace. But afterwards, when he thinks more, he realizes that not only miracles he sees Hashem's hand, but even those events which before he only called them extraordinary, or even those events where he thought, it was just a huge success, even that is Hashem's hand. So, the miracle of Hanukkah teaches us, first of all, to be grateful for miracles. And to realize that the Eibishter does miracles even when we don't see necessarily, a small jug of oil that could only last for 1 night, burning for 8 nights, even generally in life. We're supposed to thank the Eibishter. We know that Kabbalistically the Yom Tov of Hanukkah is connected with the Shira of Hoid. Hoid means, amongst many things, it means nullification, but also means thanksgiving. Hoidah, to thank the Eibishter. And that's part of what we say in Chanukah, Lahoidus Olahal, to thank the Eibishter. It's very important to be thankful to the Eibishter for what we have. And sometimes we have a list of all the things that we wish we could have and we don't have, and all the problems that we had. But at the same time, it would also be beneficial if we would write down a list of all the good things the Eibishter did for us as well. So, like they say, it's a good tip for Shalom bias when you're upset that your spouse, they didn't do this or that. You keep a log of all the things they did for you. So then later, when you'll, when you start getting disappointed that this wasn't done, you'll be able to put everything in proper balance, in proper sequence, perspective, everything that they did do for you. So when it comes to the Eibishter, it's very nice to demand the Eibishter do everything. You could ask, we should ask. At the same time, we should be thankful. That's first of all. And this is also connected with Parshas Vayeshev, because we see that Yosef's success, find a very amazing thing in Parshas Vayeshev. The more Yosef was subjugated, the more he was sold as a slave, then he was very successful. Then when he was in prison, the way the Rabbi explains in the Sicha, his success was even more wondrous. And the Rabbi explains, the more a person is in a state of bittul to Hashem, the more he gets success. When a person attributes his success to his great wisdom, to his mighty business tactics, he's the smartest guy in the universe, he knows how to pull off, he has connections, he has a lot of money, a lot of wisdom, I don't know. So he might be successful, but his success is limited. By a Jew, true success, not just by a Jew, by anyone, but particularly by a Jew, success comes when he recognizes that it's the Eibishter that's in control. You see by Yosef, right? Yosef would always mention the Eibishter's name. Potiphar clearly saw was the Eibishter was giving success. Why? Because he saw that Yosef, everything he said, Baruch Hashem, Bezras Hashem, and Yirtzeh Hashem, right? When you mention the Eibishter and the things that you do, you have success. So that's one of the things of Parshas Vayeshev. We see the idea of thanking the Eibishter. And the more Yosef felt, the more he was humbled in his personal life, that he not only was sold as a slave, but now he was in prison, the more brought out within him, his humility towards the Eibishter, his bittul towards the Eibishter. And the more bittul he had towards the Eibishter, he didn't even have to do anything. His success came completely supernatural, so to say, without him having to do anything. So that's one of the messages of Hanukkah, when a person believes in the Eibishter and thanks the Eibishter. So he gets success, and that was also right. What did the Chashmonaim? What are they known for? Maccabees. What does Maccabees stand for? Mikamecha Beilim Hashem. Right? They knew to start with that it's not their strength or their guerrilla tactics or their nuclear warheads that's going to give them a victory. They knew that it's the Koyach of the Eibishter, and that's taka what was more successful than everything else. So the Munah, the Haidah, the thankfulness, and the which also means the Simcha, the Munah B'tach, and that's one of the lessons, the shared lessons between Chanukah and Parshas Vayeshev. On a more general theme, we know that the Yontav of Chanukah, the battle that was going on, wasn't just a battle between Republicans and Democrats, but the battle that was going on during Chanukah was a battle between two worldviews, and this battle is still goes on today to a certain extent. There's the way how Torah looks at the world, and the way secularism looks at the world. Right? You had the Rebbe Rashab met. It was Achad Ha'am, a Jew that became a Zionist. I don't know what it was exactly. Didn't believe officially he claimed didn't believe in anything anymore. And the Rebbe Rashab once met with him, and after they were finished, so the Rebbe Rashab commented about him, and the Rebbe Rashab said about him that he's so caught up in the klipa that even if he would see Kriyas Yamsuf with his own two eyes, he wouldn't believe it. He would say that it's a wind, it's a high tide, a low tide. What Achadam said about the Rebbe Rashab, he said, Yedeya sa'olam m'chaven limrid boy. And there's a word that you have that Chassidus speaks a lot about Amalek. It says, Yedeya s'riboynei m'chaven limrid boy. Amalek knows Hashem and he wants to rebel against him. So he played around with the words and he said that Rebbe Rashab knows the world and he wants to rebel against it. In other words, a lot of great Jewish leaders at that time didn't know what the world was. They didn't understand the secular mindset. They didn't, so to say, they were naive. They didn't know what was going on. So the Rebbe Rashab knows full well. He understands the world very well. But nevertheless, or aspires specifically because of that, his desire is to rebel against it. He wants to break the world. But anyway, the way Torah and secularism look at the world are polar opposites, right? According to Torah, what is considered success? Not necessarily if you make a lot of money, but if you're honest in business, you don't cheat, you give tzedakah from your earnings. The secular world, what's success? And you make a lot of money, and you don't necessarily have to always say the truth, and so on and so forth. And when it comes to many things, when it comes to where Torah, so to say, conflicts with modern thought, or with modern science, with modern belief systems, it's a very big struggle. People find it very hard to accept that Torah is the ultimate truth. Torah, so to say, doesn't leave room, particularly Chassidus, doesn't leave room for negotiation. You have to accept it, you don't accept it. It's like Torah doesn't bend itself to Chassidus doesn't bend itself to comply with the world. Chassidus just says, this is the way to go. You have to have emunah, you have to have simcha, you have to have bitachon, you have to have faith. This is the way it is. And it's very hard and becomes a very deep struggle, the inner struggle. And this was what was going on with the Jewish people as well during the times of the Maccabees. You had many Jews, they felt that maybe they weren't the biggest fans in the depth of their hearts of the Greeks, but they felt you got to go along with the Greeks, you got to go along with the whatever it is that, this is, you have to bend, you have to compromise. The Greeks aren't so bad after all. If you would follow Torah mitzvahs within a certain framework, within a certain blend, you will do it. You just won't be ultra-orthodox. You just won't be fanatics. Then maybe you'll get a pass to fulfill the mitzvahs. And the Maccabees said no. The Maccabees said we can't let that go. And they fought. And it made no sense. How can you have 12 guys? It started with a band of 12 people. They're going to fight an army of hundreds and thousands of troops. But that's what Torah is. Torah is, it's the whole miracle of Chanukah is that it's the belief, it's the pure belief in the Eibishter, right? The whole thing with the oil, the Rebbe spoke a lot, that the Greeks wouldn't care if you lit the menorah with impure oil. But they wanted to light the menorah but use defiled oil, like Moiseda would say. It should have a Greek touch. How did they make the oil impure? They touched it, that's what they moved it, whatever it is. Use Torah, but it should have a Greek touch. It shouldn't be purely Jewish, it should be. And a lot of people, they find it extremely hard to accept, the Torah's way of thinking in many areas seem to directly conflict with the way human beings are taught or initially think on their own. And it takes a lot of Mesiras Nefesh to taka believe that das is das. What Torah says is the emes. But what Hanukkah teaches us, that when you have that perseverance, when you have that belief, might not be rosy. Torah doesn't guarantee you until Mashiach comes, life is going to be rosy necessarily, and that every challenge will be right away overcome. But eventually, you'll persevere, and the great and the world eventually will have to adapt to Torah, not the other way around. So this is a message. It comes to many things. There's no need to elaborate when it comes to anything. When it comes to business, it comes to educating your kids. When it comes to your own life, what's your priorities? When it comes to how you look at what's important in life, what's considered success, what's considered a waste of time, what's considered accomplishment. Torah has what the world says is usually runs the opposite of what Torah says. So Hanukkah gives us the ability to persevere, to understand that at the end of the day is that what overcomes at the end of the day is not just the right over the might, as people like to say, but it's the ultimate truth in its purest form, and as inconsistent with modern reality as it may appear. That's what's going to persevere. That's one of them. Another point is that people should realize the significance of their accomplishments. You have, right, this is the famous Sikha that the Rabbi spoke about, how one good morning could save the whole world, right? What do we have in this week's Parsha? We have the famous story how Yosef is in prison, and he sees one morning how the Sada Mashkin, the Sada Eifim, the baker, and the butler of Pare, their faces are sour. So if he would have been a tough New York, he would have said, who cares, this is minig, how they I'll move on, I don't know, take it. But he asked them, why does your face look so down today? He tries to help them, and they tell him that they had a dream. And basically, to make a long story short, right, he interpreted the dream, and eventually, because he interpreted the dream, when Pare had the dream, so he called Pare. And the dream that Pare had was relevant for the whole world, because Pare's dream was regarding the hunger and the famine and the years of plenty that affected the whole world, and Yosef saved the whole world from hunger. Why? Because one morning, it all started off one morning when he saw somebody was in a downcast mood. Instead of saying, who cares, he went over and he. So Hanukkah teaches us in a similar vein that small actions count. A person could say, you have so many Jews that are not being careful about this. So many people aren't, whatever it is. A person could say, who cares? My action will make the difference. So you say, yeah. And what's the whole message of Hanukkah? The Eibusher gave over mighty in the hands of the weak, many in the hands of the few, right? There could be what you're doing. There's so many people that are spreading, I don't know, gossip. I don't know. What am I going to accomplish by spreading kindness? What am I going to accomplish by doing one mitzvah? So but the whole message of Hanukkah is that it's those few people that believed in their vision, that believed in their goal, despite the fact that everyone else was against them. They were the ones that persevered. So we should never underestimate the importance of one mitzvah, particularly when it's done with our full faith, and devotion. And one mitzvah could change the world. Why is that? So according to the standard way of looking at it, we say the world hangs in the balance, right? And unfortunately, that phrase is pretty much, we live through the world is still in that way. We clearly see the world is in the balance. It could either go this way, that way. It goes to lockdown, it goes to up down. I don't know. And one action could tip the scale, right? That's the way it is. So one good action tips the scale for good. That's like a mathematical equation to understand why one deed that you do makes a difference. But there's a deeper point. When you do a deed, it's not just the deed. When you put your essence, your soul into it. So the essence of a Jew is one with the essence of Hashem. So it's not just one deed. When you're doing a deed, like the Chashunoim, they did it with self-sacrifice, they draw down a level of success that's beyond nature. It's beyond it's not limited to the small action that you did. One deed could make a difference, but you have to put your koiches, your energy into it, right? One press of a button could destroy the world. One press of a button could build the world. So that's another standard message of Hanukkah. And then there's the the standard points that are always worthwhile mentioning is that Moisif Ohelech, right? Beishamai, Beis Hillel, there's a famous disagreement how many Hanukkah candles you light. Beishamai says you start with, you pull out all the guns, the big guns at the beginning of Hanukkah, you have a shakano, you have 8 candles, and then you slowly, after you already conquered the enemy, then you could, you don't have to replenish your ammo, you don't have to, you don't have to send so many bombs. You go 8, 7, 6, right? You only have to wipe out a few pockets of resistance. But Beis Hillel says no. Beis Hillel says there's a different strategy. They say that we don't have the power to knock out, to have a massive shock and awe display. They say you start with 1 candle, start with a little bit, then build your way up slowly. So the opinion follows Beis Hillel, because Bizman Hazeh, we don't have the power to overcome the darkness of the whole world in 1 shot. But we go little by little, but it's important to realize you can't fight darkness. You can take, if the room is dark, if you take all the sticks and baseball bats that you have in your warehouse and you try to fight the darkness, it's not going to go anywhere. You light 1 candle, a little bit of light dispels a lot of darkness. Same thing as we find a lot of people, or things that are going on, we sit the whole day discussing this guy did this guy did that, and there might be a lot of darkness around. But by digging into it, if a pot stinks or something else stinks and you're going to start mixing it, you're not going to get it to smell any better, right? That's I'm sure it's a tip that everyone is well aware. If you want it to stop smelling, put in some soap and water. Don't mix it, don't stir the garbage. A person has issues. Many people say, don't talk to me about it, I'm aware. Don't stir the pot. I'm trying my best to cope with my deficiencies. Please don't stir the pot. So yeah, that's true. So it's you're not going to accomplish anything by discussing how this and that, the third thing, the fourth thing. You light a candle. It might not be popular. You're going to do something good. It's much easier to sit and fight the darkness. But you're not going to get anywhere. You have to light a candle. You have to spread warmth. Do something small. Start saying hello to someone that looks sour this morning. Or even if he doesn't look sour, or just reach out to someone, do something small, build yourself up, and that will make a difference. So that's the Nikud. The Nikud is don't fight with the darkness, try to light it up, build your way up, and don't have Mesiras Nefesh. That's the bottom line. You have to have perseverance, and in order to have perseverance, you have to have hope, you have to have optimism, you have to have belief. Right? If you don't believe in the Eibishter, you don't believe in the ultimate good, or in the ultimate future with Mashiach, so then everything you do, you don't know, maybe yeah, maybe not. Is it really accomplishing anything? Is it not? You do it half-heartedly. But the Mechashim Noim didn't have any doubts. They did something which made no sense. Everyone was telling them, you guys are committing suicide. 12 fanatics going against an army of hundreds of thousands of soldiers. But they knew this is what has to be. The Eibishter's Torah has to be eternal. This is what got to happen. And that they were successful. So if you believe in your mission, you'll be successful. And we should all be connected to Eibishter, thank Eibishter, see the Eibishter's miracles. Eibishter shows us his miracles this Hanukkah. We should have Ploi Sarenu, right? This year's Pei Aleph. The Rabbi says we should see wonders, we should see miracles. The coming of Mashiach, take it from Yad Mamash.
Forever.